How to forgive yourself. Everything you need to know right now, right here. Let me help you with this. First of all, I want you to see something that you may never have seen before. It's not just that you're unwilling to forgive yourself. You're afraid. You're actually terrified of it. Now let's talk about why are you afraid to forgive yourself. I want to show something to you. Something happened, okay? Something happened and you're triggered. Okay, you're just triggered. Let's just get this out of the way. When you're triggered, you have a past-based emotion that is very powerful, and it's in your mind, and it's fueled with a lot of energy, and it's reducing your consciousness. It's making you confused, you're ruminating, you're having a very difficult time figuring things out. And see, when you have one of these triggers activate, it actually reduces your consciousness because the fear is part of the fight or flight mechanism. It forces tunnel vision. And so as you fixate on yourself, trying to fix yourself, haven't you noticed just how difficult it is for you to think and problem solve? Your imagination goes away because you're stuck in your head. Okay, and so you're reliving things, you're beating yourself up, but this is actually something that's also causing avoidance. The feeling of being not good enough is something that causes avoidance. Consider this. The feeling of being not good enough is also a feeling of smallness and deficiency. That is what makes animals run away from each other. The fight or flight reaction is either attack or run. Trying to figure it out and grab life by the bull by the horns. Notice how you have anxiety when you are being successful too. Notice that when you're driven to be perfect and go-getter and just go make it happen, you're really working to overcome, fix, change something so that you can go and get out of this anxiety state. You see, being driven by anxiety is part of the fight or flight mechanism, and you oscillate between go-getterness, like figured out, be perfect, and avoidance. And so feeling like you're not enough is simply the proportionality of fight or flight reactions. And so when you're not forgiving yourself, what it's doing is it's just keeping you in this small state. And so you feel small, you're afraid. Like right now, you're terribly afraid of failure, disappointment, because that's what's triggered in you. And so what this is doing by maintaining this, you have a profound fear barrier to forgiving yourself, because part of your consciousness is still online and knows that if you were to let all this crap go, then you'd be out there doing things again, right? Like if you didn't have all this pain and confusion, then you'd be right back to what you were doing before. But what you're doing before is what triggered you, right? So you're doing something for someone, something happened that didn't go your way, a big setback, and it hurt. And so when you activated that trigger, you got stuck in it. But you see that smallness, that brokenness, that I'm not good enough, that abandoned, alone feeling, invisible, I don't matter, it doesn't matter. Like you likely have so many different emotional dynamics, and all of these are creating the architecture of your own experience of self. You see, this is involuntary. You see, we tend to think about limiting beliefs, but I want you to know being triggered is not voluntary. It is involuntary. So all these negative feelings you have nothing to do with reality. It doesn't have anything to do with the lack of self-love. It makes it so you don't feel love. It makes it so you can't really acknowledge yourself. You see, what you're missing is you're missing your intention. You see, you didn't purposely do this. And if you did, then if you kept looking, there's some reason, right? And so we just got to unwind it. But the very first step is just letting it go. You're going to have to just forgive yourself, and you're going to have to pony up. It's scary. It is scary, but that's where you're going to build some real power and courage. So go to that mirror, forgive yourself. Just let it go. You got to allow yourself to embrace your humanity and your real intention. Then there's going to be some accounting. You see, you cannot have people feeding into guilt. Guilt, shame, blame is not responsibility. People that know you at the core always empower responsibility. See, responsibility is not blame. No. Responsibility and accountability are not blame. That's consciousness. See, causality just means power. Like, you have something to do with the outcome. Acknowledging that you had something to do with an outcome is easy. You know what? I meant to do this, and I tried, and then this happened, and I burned the brownies. Hey, I'm really sorry for the disappointment. I'll work on that recipe. We'll get it going. You know what? I was supposed to do this. I didn't do it. I didn't do it on time. Just acknowledging And taking your power back will literally release you from all of it. And so what you gotta do is you do not need anybody's help. You don't need any validation. You don't need any belief. You don't need the long road of recovery. What you need is simply the simple act of forgiveness. And you need to just allow it to let go. You gotta release it first. Okay, so it's as if right now it feels so heavy and big. You think there's a lot there, but that's only because these emotions are real powerful and they're from the past. It's literally everybody's had a fake abandonment in childhood. Okay, like we all have this neurological thing where we have triggers. That's the basis of ego. So all this hustling to be good enough, good enough, good enough, it's all nonsense. Okay, and so you're triggered by nonsense. I want you to know that. It is real. Okay, so I do not want to take away from the fact that you're really going through it right now. But what you're really going through is a neurological loop, like a twilight zone of self-fulfilling emotions, that the presence of the emotion confirms itself. And the problem is that these emotions contaminate the way you see everything. I want you to just notice something with me. Just tell me if I'm bullshitting you. Notice how in this state, it has contaminated every area of your life. Like everything you look at looks wrong, bad, everything. Like you look at your past, it's all this trauma stuff, bad, bad, bad. And notice that when something goes really good for you, you look at your life the same way. Notice this. You see, emotions are the catalyst and the contextual phenomenon of life. You see, emotions are what give, sort of the motive to survive, for animals. Like, emotions are meant to accurately position us in a perfect relationship to reality, okay? And so, emotions like fear have you avoid things that'll hurt you. Pleasure has you do things that would be good for your survival. Hunger makes you eat. Joy and all this. These emotions, normal emotions are healthy because they accurately depict the external reality. You see, it's just part of how your mind forms reality. It's like your brain picks up all the visual and auditory cues and processes it, and then it generates emotions to help you navigate. Now, the problem is you have many different emotions that are stuck in these loops. And so when you get triggered, notice how you get stuck there. These are triggers that we address in my coaching. We let them go so that you can have normal emotions. You see, enlightenment is not about being emotionless. Enlightenment is about getting out of the illusion of ego. You see, you're not designed to have emotions about yourself to constantly fix. You see, you can't navigate within yourself. That's what causes stuckness and paralysis. Notice when you're triggered, you're always stuck. The reason why you're stuck when triggered is because emotions were naturally designed to motivate behaviors outside of yourself. But when you get stuck in your head, there is no reality there because you dissociate, because you get so confused that you can't really figure out a strategy because you're not looking at reality. It's like you're trying to get somewhere in life, but you stop looking at the map. If you're staring in the mirror, you're not looking at the road, okay? So like literally being triggered is like staring at the rear view mirror in your car and complaining about it and then crashing because you're not looking at life. You see, being in your head is a distraction from observing reality, but we got to get you out of your head first. The first step is forgiveness. You got to let it go. That is the step, you see. And it just takes courage. That's all it is. So it's not something that you have to do. There's no evidence. You don't need a safety net. You don't need any support. In fact, you might have to do a real accurate accounting because people around you that take advantage of you when you feel guilt, when you feel bad, notice that you already fear disappointment already. Notice how you really have such high hopes that you do things out of kindness and then you hope that people enjoy it. Well, if people are taking your resources and your love and taking it for granted and only like rewarding you with breadcrumbing because you did something, that they like this time, and if you didn't meet their satisfaction, then they disrespect you, those people need to be cut out of your life. They need to be held accountable. Nobody is allowed to abuse you emotionally because you're a good person. You see, your kindness needs to be seen in the efforts that you make, that you don't master anything in life by quitting right away. And so nobody should expect you to be perfect because we develop over time. We develop. And so your intentions are going to dictate where you go as long as you stay aligned with them. As long as you keep doing all the things that you love without stopping yourself, then you'll get wherever you want to be. But we got to forgive yourself first. So go do it. Let it go.